All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling one of the most fascinating and frankly confusing stories on the market right now, Ondas Holdings. This is a company with a story so full of contradictions, it's a real head-scratcher. You've got a stock that's delivered absolutely mind-blowing returns, but at the same time, a balance sheet that would make most sane investors just run for the hills.
I mean, seriously, just look at this number. Over the past 12 months, Ondas stock rocketed up at an incredible 1,358%. A run like that signals some serious excitement from investors, right? A powerful belief that this company is onto something huge. It's the kind of return that can literally change your life. But that's only half the story.
Because here's the other half. While that stock was soaring to the moon, the company itself reported a net loss of $133 million in 2025. And folks, that isn't just unprofitable. That is a massive cash burn. So how on earth can a company be losing that much money and yet be one of the top performing stocks out there? Well, that is the paradox we are here to unpack.
And that really leads us to the big question, the core of this whole thing. Is Ondas a true visionary building the future of autonomous defense right in front of us, or is this a high-risk bubble just inflated by a ton of hype and waiting to pop? To figure that out, we've got to dig into the facts.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. We've seen the two conflicting pictures, the crazy gains and the crazy losses. Next, we'll look at the company's radical transformation. Then we'll lay out the bull case, the argument for the stock, and the bear case, the argument against it. And finally, we'll see what the pros on Wall Street expect to happen next.
So first things first, let's talk about this transformation. Because to really get what Ondas is today, you have to completely forget what it was just a few years ago. It started out as a pretty niche wireless company, focused on industries like railroads. But through a really aggressive and frankly brilliant series of acquisitions, it has totally reinvented itself into a potential defense tech powerhouse.
And what's wild here is just the sheer speed of it all. I mean, they started in 2023 with robotics and their cool drone-in-a-box technology. Then, in 2025, they went on an absolute buying spree, snapping up 7 Israeli defense tech companies in just 5 months. After that, in 2026, they grabbed a U.S. prime defense contractor in a company that makes stratospheric balloons. This wasn't just growth, it was a complete and total metamorphosis.
So the key takeaway here is, this wasn't some random shopping trip. Every single company they bought was a specific, crucial piece of a much bigger puzzle. The end goal was to build this, an integrated multi-domain ISR platform. Just imagine a single, smart, nervous system that connects eyes way up in the stratosphere with drones flying in the air and robots moving on the ground. That system of systems is what Ondas is betting the entire farm on.
So now that we understand what they've built, let's dive into the bull case. Why are investors so incredibly excited about this new vision that they're willing to just ignore those huge financial losses? Well, it really boils down to a few key things. And it all starts with the company's core belief, which the CEO, Eric Brock, put perfectly right here. In today's very complex world, customers, whether it's the military or a big industrial company, they don't want to buy a drone from company A, a sensor from company B, and software from company C and try to stitch it all together. No way! They want one integrated, ready-to-go solution from a single provider. And that is exactly the niche Ondas has built for itself. And you know what? The numbers show that this strategy is starting to work in a big way. Just look at this explosive revenue growth, from about $7 million in 2024 to over $50 million in 2025. But their guidance for 2026? A jaw-dropping $375 million or more. That's a nearly 7-fold increase in a single year. That's the kind of growth that tells you your product is in serious demand.
And these aren't just some pie-in-the-sky numbers they're hoping for. This revenue is being driven by huge, real-world contracts. For example, one of their units is working on demining for Israel's massive $1.7 billion border security project. Another is providing the anti-drone security for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. All of this has led to a backlog of orders that jumped 236% last year alone.
Now this right here is a massive piece of the puzzle for the bulls. It's a huge competitive advantage. Ondas's Optimus system is the first drone in a box to get what's called FAA type certification. This is a very, very big deal. It basically means the FAA says this system is as safe and airworthy as a regular airplane. That certification gives Ondas a legal green light to operate fully autonomously, even over cities, something their competitors simply cannot do. It's a huge regulatory moat. So to wrap up the bull case, it really stands on these three strong pillars. First, they're tapping into a massive market in defense and critical infrastructure where governments are spending more and more money. Second, they have this unique all-in-one platform that nobody else is really offering. And third, their technology and leadership team come with deep, battle-tested credibility from the world-renowned Israeli defense industry.
But of course, that is only one side of the coin. Now we have to look at the bear case. We have to really examine the very serious risks that have critics screaming that this whole thing is built on a very shaky foundation.
The first major red flag for the bears is the valuation, the price tag of the stock. This table shows the price-to-sales ratio. It just measures how much you're paying for each dollar of revenue. Ondas is trading at around 79 times its 2025 sales. Now, sure, you can see other futuristic tech companies are even higher, but compared to a company like EHang, which is already generating significant revenue, it's a huge premium. A valuation like this doesn't just expect growth, it demands absolute perfection.
And here's the other side of that growth coin. While revenue is shooting up, the company is burning through a mountain of cash to make it happen. In 2025, just their operating activities ate up almost $39 million. This cash burn is the ticking clock in the background of the entire Ondas story. Growth is fantastic, but at some point, it absolutely has to turn into real profit.
So the bear case really boils down to these harsh financial realities. You've got the high cash burn, and they're not profitable yet. To get the money they need to operate, they have to issue new stock, which dilutes the value for everyone who already owns shares. Then there's the massive integration risk. I mean, trying to get all those different companies they bought to work together seamlessly, that is a monumental challenge. And finally, some investors are pointing to $12 million in stock sales by company insiders over the past year as another reason to be cautious.
So we've got the super bullish vision on one hand and the very bearish risks on the other. So how does Wall Street see this all playing out? Let's take a look at what the analysts are forecasting for the stock.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because despite all of those risks we just laid out, Wall Street analysts are unanimously bullish. All 6 of the analysts that cover the stock rate it as either a buy or a strong buy. They're clearly betting that Ondas's unique all-in-one platform strategy is going to win, capturing a huge slice of the growing defense market and making the current financial risks a gamble well worth taking.
And this table kind of breaks down what that could look like. In a conservative scenario, if growth slows down or they hit some snags integrating all those companies, analysts still see the stock around $12. The base case, which is basically if they just execute on their current plan, puts the price target around $20, which is more than double where it is now. And in an optimistic world with even faster growth, the stock could go north of $30.
And all of that brings us back to the final, critical, billion-dollar question. The story of Ondas is a true high-stakes gamble on the future of defense. They have the vision. They have the technology. They are winning the contracts. The entire investment thesis boils down to this one simple thing. Can they turn all of that incredible potential into a profitable, sustainable business before that ticking clock on their cash burn runs out? The answer to that question is going to determine if this is one of the great tech stories of our time or just another cautionary tale.